during the summer between our senior year of high school and our freshman year of college, Haley and I decided to spend a month on the road and just kind of base this road trip around visiting some of the cooler places that our country kind of had to offer. And so from the start, we knew we wanted to head out west just because of the sort of geologic uniqueness to that whole landscape. And yeah, we started in Rocky Mountain National Park. It was a long haul from Milwaukee, I think 18 hours in total, but we got into Boulder just kind of like as the sun was fading behind the Front Range, so we could see the silhouettes of the mountains, which was real cool. Our first stop was Rocky Mountain National Park. We hiked a bit. I got a little bit of altitude sickness, but we saw lots of cool wildlife. I think we probably hiked 15 to 20 miles in total there, but it was really cool just kind of getting acclimated to life on the road, and then also acclimated to like just altitude in general. Was tough at times, but good practice. It kicked us into shape real fast. After that, we sort of descended into western Colorado and then southeastern Utah and visited Canyonlands National Park, where we stayed for 3 or 4 nights. And that just a complete different experience. Daily temperatures would get up to 110, 112. And black flies were pretty bad, especially when you're eating like cereal and getting your milk.
Your mouth.
Yeah, that was fun.
We decided to hike in Arches in 110-degree weather, which was pretty brutal.
Yeah. My parents had spent a lot of time in the Southwest, and they're like, do not go hike at midday. And of course, we would stay up kind of late and then sleep in a little bit and go hiking at 11 a.m. and finish up at 2 p.m.
Not like to snooze the alarm.
Yeah. But yeah, so we did lots of hiking there. Canyonlands is one of the larger parks in the lower 48. And it's just kind of like the Grand Canyon, but with it's a fraction of the people. So really cool, really unique landscape. I had been reading about it for like the past 3 or 4 years. Edward Abbey writes pretty extensively about it, and I knew that was a place that I wanted to hit on the trip for sure. After that, we went to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and on the way we spent a night in the Kaibab National Forest, which is up on the Kaibab Plateau. It was really cool. There was nobody there. Just I think the largest ponderosa pine forest on Earth. Of course, I decided to not fill up our like emergency water container enough, so I got severely dehydrated and started throwing up. But it was okay. We were close enough to the ranger station on the North Rim that we could book it over there in the morning and get help. So got some barbecue Pringles out of the deal. No complaints. Yeah, North Rim was really cool. That was probably where my favorite ranger talks were.
Yeah, we took a mule ride down the Grand Canyon, which was really
that was
awesome.
cool. That was cool. Honestly, looking back, if we were only there for like 2 or 3 nights, and I would have liked to have been there for more. But
yeah,
the Grand Canyon's one of those things where you can't really do a whole lot unless you have a whole like backpacking rig going, because you can't go into the canyon unless you've got lots of supplies. But yeah, no, the North Rim was fantastic, really pretty, and the campground was just kind of tucked into the ponderosa pines, and there were ravens everywhere, and it was just a really cool place to have a campfire. After the North Rim, we went to Zion National Park, and on the way we stopped at a state park in southwestern Utah called Sandy Hollow, and it was just kind of this, I think it was a man-made reservoir, but the beach was entirely orange-red sand, which was really cool, and it was 115 degrees, so cooling down felt great. The water was clear, and it felt kind of good to be around like civilization a little bit, because southeastern Utah and north central Arizona, there's not much out there, so it was cool. We were in Mormon country, so that was interesting, but yeah, it was a good time. It was a really good time. And then drove to Zion, and we originally were intending to spend 2 nights there, but we were both kind of just so interested in exploring the park that we decided we would actually stay 5 nights. So we got up real early that 3rd day and got in line for the first come first served campground. And We did all sorts of trails in Zion,
We did Angel's Landing,
which is
like a super narrow trail that you have to hold on to a chain when
yeah.
you go up because it's so narrow, which was really cool. And then after that, we were really hot because it finished probably by midday.
Yeah, I know.
Or early afternoon, so we jumped in the Virgin River after that, which was like an emerald.
Yeah, really pretty emerald hue to the water, and just like it's probably 70 degrees. It was great.
It was awesome. And what else? We did the Narrows in Zion, which is a really famous slot canyon. You have to be really careful of flash floods though.
Yeah.
So we went to a ranger talk before hiking the Narrows just to know what to look out for, so we could be prepared. And we went really early in the morning to kind of beat the heat and beat the crowds.
There was a possibility of thunderstorms like 25 miles north of us, and the Narrows it's just kind of this bottleneck of a drainage area, so it collects from like 50 miles all around. So we wanted to get in and get out before the potential of thunderstorms kind of came. So, but yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was really, I'd never been in a slot canyon like that before. Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of frustrating just because you're walking through a river, and so it's just kind of a conglomeration of like fist-sized rocks to like human-sized boulders, and so you don't really have great footing. But yeah, it was just really enjoyable because it's cool, and I don't know, there aren't a whole lot of hikes like that in the world, so very cool.
Then we hiked Kolob Canyon.
Sweet.
Super cool. We were really scared of mountain lions the whole time.
Yeah, which is completely irrational.
Oh, whatever.
Good.
Really cool.
We saw the second largest natural forming arch on Earth, which from the angle we were at didn't actually look that impressive, but I guess it's something cool to say. So.
Then after Zion.
Well, it started raining at one point. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It started raining at one point, like on the way back, and we actually kind of got turned around. And that was, I think, the only time where we ever actually kind of got a little bit lost. And I remember we were in kind of like there was just like juniper all around us, and it was really disorienting, but that was fun. And then the end of that hike, like the last 2 or 3 miles, were just awful.
We had like this marker where we knew that we were like a mile away, and so we kept looking for the marker, and then we never saw it, so we were like, oh my gosh, this is the longest trail of our entire lives, but we just missed it. And so then we got to the end, we were like, oh, thank God. So after Zion, we went to Grand Teton.
No, to Salt Lake City.
Well, that's not a national
Saw
park.
the Mormon temple.
Yeah, we
Favorite
went on a
part.
Sunday. Everything was closed because it's Mormon country. Then we went to Grand Teton National Park. Our campsite was beautiful. There was a bunch of sage right by our campsite, and we had a really good view of Grand Teton Mountain, which was awesome.
So it was the 4th of July when we got there, and we wanted to see fireworks somewhere. And so like Grand Teton is like adjacent to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and there's a huge ski resort called like Teton Skiing or something. I don't know. It's like Teton Village, and they were having a big firework display. And on the way over there, our first night, the sun was falling behind the mountains, and it was really pretty. And there were like pronghorn running around in the sage. It was cool.
There's never a bad sunset in Grand Teton.
We bought bear spray in Grand Teton because that was the first park that was considered to be grizzly territory. So that was fun. Got a little lesson from the rangers. We spent one day hiking around Jenny Lake, which is one of the more famous trails in the park. It's at the base of the mountain, so it's all good views. The water's really clear. And the second day we decided to traverse into the mountains through this like little canyon, but like 3.5 miles in, a lady came up to us saying that she had seen a grizzly sow with some cubs, and we didn't want to mess with that, so we turned around. And
But on the way back,
oh yeah,
we saw a big group of people all gathering around, like looking in one direction, and there was a big moose like feeding in the water, which was cool because I was bummed that we had to turn around on our hike because of the grizzly, but we got to see a moose, which was the only moose we saw on the trip. So
yeah, its antlers were probably like 4 feet wide, like from one tip to the other tip. It was crazy. It was huge. We went to some interesting ranger talks in Grand Teton. I woke up one night at like 2 a.m. to wolves howling across Jackson Valley, which was one of the more memorable experiences for me. It was kind of scary but also beautiful at the same time. Yeah, then
Yellowstone.
we went up to Yellowstone.
Drove up. We went hiking a few times. Not as scenic, but still really beautiful.
Our campground was right on Yellowstone Lake, so this lake, kind of like the center of the Yellowstone caldera, and it's just ringed by mountains, and they're not quite as like rugged or jagged as the Tetons or the Northern Rockies and Glacier, but they're still pretty.
Yellowstone is where we saw first bear. It was a brown black bear.
Yeah.
Saw on the side of the road, and the bison in Yellowstone like to just
Yeah.
walk in the middle of the road, like right on the yellow lines. There'd be cars stopped for like so many periods of time.
Yeah, you better not have to go to the bathroom if you get stuck in a bison.
We saw many,
Traffic
many
jam.
on the road. And then our last stop of the trip was probably my favorite park that we went to. We saw the most wildlife there.
Yeah, agreed.
We hiked the most. We hiked over 50 miles in the 4 days we were there in Glacier National Park. Absolutely beautiful. We drove in to our campsite right when the sun was setting, kind of.
Yeah, no, and you kind of gain elevation getting to the campsite, so you sort of see all of the glacial valleys coming in, and it was really pretty. The sky was pink.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And then our first hike up Glacier was a small hike up to a big
Appoquinee Falls.
waterfall, which was awesome. Splashed you when you got really close.
Yeah, no, it's probably like 6 or 7 stories high. It was really tall. And yeah, that was your first sort of experience with water in Glacier, and because the mountains are just kind of like granite monoliths, there's really no topsoil there, so all of the meltwater, like there's no debris in it at all. It's just crystal clear. So kind of crazy. Then after Appoquinee Falls, we did one of the more famous trails in Glacier, Grinnell Glacier Trail, and it is, I think, like 6.5 miles up, 6.5 miles down, and so we were feeling pretty good. We had like sort of a driving day the day before, so our feet were itchy, so did that. Of course, some thunderstorms came in later on, but on the way up, a lot of people, including a park ranger, were like, just make sure you make some noise, because there have been some bears reported up in some of the alpine meadows, so we were careful, we were loud. And then of course, at one point we came around a bend on the trail, and there was just a bunch of people on sort of a rocky outcrop pointing up, and there was one grizzly male and then a grizzly sow with 2 cubs, and we didn't see the mama grizzly with cubs, but we did see the lone grizzly.
Which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
To see a grizzly in the wild, far enough that we weren't scared, but close enough that we could still see it.
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
Perfect.
And yeah, it was just probably another really super memorable point for me.
Yeah.
You never really know if that's ever gonna happen again, so just kind of have to hold it dear, I guess. Second day, we slept in a little late, and so Glacier National Park is kind of like a tilted oval, and we were on the northeast slope of the park, and we wanted to get to sort of the center of it. And there's only one road that goes through, and it's called Going to the Sun Road, and it's one of the more like famous roads in the United States. It's a pretty cool engineering feat. They just built it right on the side of the mountains. But it gets really busy during the day because it's the only road that goes through that area of the park. And so we got up a little late and were not able to get a spot in the parking lot that was by the trailhead we wanted to go to. So I had to go to a different little parking lot and had to do some like crazy little maneuver to get into that one spot. But we managed, and then we hiked, and it was
All incline.
yeah, no, we were just kind of going up the mountain, but
Nothing but incline.
it was okay. It was really pretty, and that was, I don't know, it was a breeze. I remember it wasn't super duper hot, and we decided to hoof it up a little bit higher to the top of Swift Current
A
Mountain.
lot of it higher. I was dying.
Yeah, it was just kind of like 1,500 vertical feet up this talus slope, and there was a really cool like fire lookout. And it didn't look that far away from the bottom, but once you kind of started going, you're like, shit. But we eventually made it. And it was just kind of a 360 panoramic view of the park. Really,
Beautiful.
really fucking pretty, yeah. And we could like look inside the little fire watchtower, which was cool. It was just like some guy, he'd like put prayer flags all over the supporting beams and stuff. It was really, yeah, just a cool experience. And then we had the arduous task of going back down to like 7.5 miles, but
Which is also maybe just as hard, if not
Yeah.
harder than going up.
that's going downhill is where you get your blisters.
Blisters. Yeah. But so then the next day we did the Highline Trail, which was absolutely gorgeous, and that's where we saw the mountain goats.
Yeah.
We saw like so many on the way there and on the way back.
10 or 15, yeah.
Yeah. That was a cool one.
Yeah, it's one of the more famous trails in the park, just because you're never really in trees, you're always sort of on the side of a mountain, regardless of how far you are down the trail, so it's real pretty. And I think 6 or 7 miles down it, we found a spur that would actually take us to the top of a mountain where we could look down and see Grinnell Glacier, which sounded really fulfilling because 2 days prior we kind of got turned around up going to Grinnell Glacier because of a lightning storm. And so we did that, and that was probably the lowest I felt in the whole trip besides throwing up in Arizona. It just was so painful. It was really steep. Like
It was so
they
steep.
didn't even tread it. There were no switchbacks. It was just straight up the mountain.
And the only reason I kept going, because if you stopped, all these bugs would just like
Yeah.
attack you.
Yeah.
But the view was totally worth it.
Yeah, we eventually made it and got our glimpse of Grinnell Glacier, which was cool because it's going to be gone in 4 or 5 years. So, it's something I wanted to see. And then the following day was our last day, I think, and we decided to do the Iceberg Lake Trail, which is another famous trail, and it was only like 10 or 11 miles, which felt like
Nothing
not much
compared to
after.
what we did before.
Yeah,
So
and
we
there was
did
like
it-
very little. It was like
yeah.
1,000 feet of elevation gain compared to like 4,000 feet, which was
And so after like 40 miles of hiking the past 3 days, we're like, we're gonna wear our sandals on this hike.
honestly I could have gone barefoot and it would have been fun. Like,
We
yeah,
had so many blisters.
yeah, but it was really cool. It started raining that day, which was I like that. I like that. We were kind of just we were in the woods. It was just a bunch of like Douglas firs, but I don't know, I felt like the Pacific Northwest. It was very misty, moisty, and moisty. Yeah, and then we got to the lake, and sure enough, there were some icebergs in it. It was really cool, and a little bittersweet just because we knew that was kind of our last big destination, but it was a good one. So just
Good
tried to
one, yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah. And then we started back down, and I don't really know what we had for dinner that night. We didn't eat out. Probably egg wraps because we ate like 10,000 egg wraps a piece.
So
but,
many egg wraps.
yeah, then we came back down and probably went to bed early because it had been a long 4 days. But and then we had the drive back, which was a shit show. But it's okay. Like Northwest Montana to Southeast Wisconsin is a bit of a
hike.
bit of a hike, yeah. One thing that I became cognizant of out there was like, as an individual, I don't really own any property, but as an American citizen, I own a lot of property, and everyone should try and take advantage of that, and there should be programs that help people take advantage of that, because every single one of us owns millions and millions of acres out west, whether they be mountains or streams or deserts, and it's ours, and there is interests and lobbies that are trying to take that away from us. And so it might not seem like it's yours, and it might not feel like it's yours when you're at home, but get out there and let it inspire you, and then come back and see if it feels like it's still yours or not. Because it is, and it always should be.